250 of those had the vaccine. All other 18,000 plus did not get the vaccine.
So the vaccine is something that we still should clearly be getting.
Yes.
That's a small number. And we also don't know the underlying disease.
And let's talk about something that's really going to affect Brockton is having a candidate here for City Council, Councilor-At-Large, Jamal. Why can't
I don't know. You're tongue twisted, brother. What happened?
I said your name correctly. Jamal Brathwaite, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I did get the last name right. And you get your microphone right, just put a little closer to you.
Yes.
He's on green, yeah, he's on green.
Because they really will believe we're in an underground bunker.
Yeah, they will, unfortunately.
So pull it a little closer. I'm glad you were here. You're a first-time candidate, is that correct?
That is correct, yep.
There you go.
And what made you decide, the run you're saying Brockton there are changes that's not happening. You decided to run. Start us off, what made you decide, number one and number two, what is not going right here in Brockton that you feel needs to be changed?
Number one thing would be the roads. The roads in Brockton. Can you hear me clearly?
No.
Is my microphone on?
Number green?
Green, okay.
He's green.
Okay, that should be it.
Go ahead, Joel.
Thank you.
Oh, my God, yes, he's coming.
So, yeah, my number one observation living in Brockton is that the roads. Our roads, we have roads that look like the Flintstones. I myself, every day when I go out, and whether I want to go to the grocery store or if I want to go out for an outing, I observe that I've got to navigate around the potholes. I've got to navigate around the condition of the roads. And, recently I took a road trip with my wife. We went out of state, and it was amazing. One of the places we went was wild and wonderful West Virginia. And one of the things I could appreciate was the quality of those country roads. And I said, if West Virginia can have beautiful roads like this, why can't we in Brockton? And so that is one of my major motivations for running for City Council at Large, because I've reached out to my councilors, I've reached out to my elected officials, and I just haven't seen them responsive enough as it pertains to the roads. But I do see progress, but we want to keep that progress going.
Okay, that's one. What was the second reason?
The second reason also would be the water. I don't know if you've been following the City Council meetings, but for tomorrow, on the City Council meetings agenda, item number 36 pertains to a $19 million investment to improve our water quality, specifically in Ward 7. One of the things that Pat Hill, our interim DPW commissioner, highlighted at the last City Council meeting is that we have THM risk. What is THM risk? Well, specifically, in order for our water to be clean, it needs to be constantly flowing. When the water is stale or stagnant, sediment then builds up on the base of the pipes. When that sediment builds up, in our case in Ward 7, they've identified THMs that have exceeded the EPA's limits in terms of how much we can have. And so now that is a hazard to human health. Now, the story gets deeper because Ward 7 is at the top of the water cycle in Brockton. Therefore, if we do not clean this up in Ward 7, this will impact every single ward in the city of Brockton.
Now, that's because of the issue that we're having, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the reservoir that we share with Avon. Is that correct?
No, this has no relationship with that reservoir. This is a function of us having old infrastructure pipes that were installed in the 1800s, maybe at the earliest the 1930s. And if you observe that City Council meeting where Pat Hill gave a great presentation and he explained we need this $19 million in Ward 7 and the project will begin in Ward 7 because Ward 7 is the top of the water cycle, top of the water cycle for Brockton. And if we don't start in Ward 7, then, it's going to be an impact for the whole city. So for me, it's about roads, it's about water. It's about making sure we have a clean, healthy environment for our community to live and prosper.
Okay. I was actually just talking about our water bills, but next time we have you on, because I want people to prepare for that, that we are having issues of being overcharged or just things the way they're running just isn't conducive to the health of the city of Brockton. And I'm glad you brought up about the pipes because that's happened before where they've opened up and started changing pipes that have been built in that time, and some of them were made of wood.
Oh, really? I didn't know this.
Yeah, and I remember a candidate who won, this was 3 years ago, I think that's when we actually had a station in Brockton, kind of brought it up, that they found old pipes made of wood and pretty much petrified. Yeah, things like that do need to be changed, and I think that's a great initiative for someone to work on. Bishop Branch.
So, when looking at your run for office, first of all, we know that you are quite articulate and you are really on top of a lot of stuff that's happening with this municipality. But what people want to know, who is Jamal? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm a resident here in Brockton, and I'm also president of the Northeast Brockton Neighborhood Association, which seeks to increase residents' quality of life by promoting civic engagement. We have our organization. We have been involved in city engagements, advocating for residents' issues. When it comes to the city traffic commission, we were able to, by lobbying the traffic commission, highlighting the roadway violations that were taking place in our community, we were able to get the traffic commission to install new street signs that exist on North Quincy Street, so it can navigate traffic into our community without, or into our neighborhood without violating roadway rules. Secondly, is that the planning department and the planning board, they know about me, they know about our neighborhood association. We attend many of those meetings, especially when it comes to Woodland Park, Armstrong Street, Pratt Street, Loring Street. In addition, the Conservation Commission, we attend budget hearings on, Thursday, June 10th. We had a public hearing on the budget, and out of a population of 100,000 people, only 6 people came to the public hearing to provide input. And that is fascinating. So this is some of the work that I've been involved in. More than that, I also provide ongoing feedback to the city council and the mayor's office through emails, attending the hearings, advocacy through our representatives.
So Jamal, we appreciate it. So to your point, 5 people out of a city of over 100,000.
6 out of 100,000.
6 out of 100,000
Yeah.
show up to a budget meeting. Extraordinarily poor attendance with respect to our voters, with respect to residents getting out. Jamal, what do we do? You as a candidate, how do we get our residents engaged?
Good question. So what I do is that, as the president of the Northeast Brockton Neighborhood Association, I host a weekly meeting on Sundays with residents, and we are incrementally trying to increase the people who attend. And the significance of this meeting is to disseminate information that is an outcome of Brockton City Council meetings to the public. So I'll repeat that again. Our purpose is to disseminate information that is an outcome of City Council meetings to the public.
Now, how do you, Bishop Branch and I been involved in the city, Bishop Branch much more than I.
A little bit.
But the thing is how do you fight the apathy that's pervasive in the city? And you know something? I'm surprised that 6 people out of 100,000 showed up.
So that's a good attendance. Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't doubt it. No, it's a terrible attendance.
Okay, just making sure we're on the same page. Go ahead.
But me not being surprised as someone who's been in the city, like I say, I'm a relative newbie to this city. I moved into 1997, so I haven't been here all that long. You live in the city enough, and you start watching this, and you're not surprised you're getting kicked in the you-know-what by a donkey.
Right. Yeah, so I think to answer your question, how do we increase civic engagement? I think a lot of that has to do, how do we make the information relatable and understandable? I think for a lot of people, when they observe city council meetings, at some point their interest might dwindle for various reasons. Maybe they don't understand the topic of what's going on. Maybe they're not as connected or in constant communication with the representatives that they hear speaking. And so maybe they might interpret it as being dull. As if I have the honor to become a city councilor in Brockton, I'll make it a point to try and make it more interesting, make it more engaging, to make information more understandable. So one of the ways we do this is that on Sundays we host a meeting. It's a civically led initiative, and it's called the Brockton Oversight Board. And our remit, I kind of spoke to the purpose earlier, but it's welcome to everyone in the public. For all those who are watching this radio show, it's called the Brockton Oversight Board. You're welcome to reach out to me. I'll send you an invitation. It's on Zoom. You can attend at the preference of your home. You can go to my website. It's called votejamal.com and reach out to me. I know that that's probably for the end, but I want to let you know. So to answer Ed's question.
You're listening to Jamal Brathwaite, who is running for City Council and running for At-Large. You're listening to Stand Up Strong with Bishop Tony Branch and myself, Ed Miller, on 1530 a.m. You can catch us on Facebook. You can catch us by going on and listening to the station ID and click on the talking dog. One of the things that, I've been talking for a few years now, talking to the business owners and talking to those who are trying to become business owners in the city of Brockton. And of all the people I've talked to, I don't think I've ever talked to anybody who has a good thing to say about trying to open a business. I actually just watched a business after 3 years, spent $800,000 to try to open, is now opening up in Abington. We have no family fun centers. There's a long question, I'm sorry. There's no family fun center other than the bowling alley. And another one who tried to open up a family fun center actually opened in Taunton because he said, I walked in and they could care less. And when they went to Taunton, they were like pretty much rolled out the red carpet. A, do you agree with that? But B, what are some of the changes that you feel we need? Because this has been happening since the 80s. I'm not going to blame these elected officials, but I can only say is you're not doing anything about it. You as the newbie on the council, if you win, what are some of the ideas that you have that will change the, again, I'll use the word apathy at City Hall to work with people who actually want to open a business in Brockton, of 100,000 people?
Yes. So I acknowledge the first segment of your question, that some business applicants for permits and licensing have had mixed success. Some have been successful getting approvals, opening up business, and having that dialogue with City Hall so that they can set expectations for their business. So some have had success. I also acknowledge your observation that some have had not success. They've wasted money and they are very disillusioned and apathetic towards the city of Brockton. How can you have a successful business in a city where you can't plan the future costs of your business? And so the solution, or a solution I recommend, is that we should, in the city of Brockton, have what's called an ombudsman service. The bondsman would be a liaison between the city and all persons who have a complaint or inquiry into the operations of a city department or conduct of a city employee. The city ombudsman would take all inquiries and complaints seriously. Now, this department, it's not an individual, it would be a department. This department should be independent and objective, where functionally they report to the city council and provide quarterly updates, and report administratively to the mayor's office for the purpose of being integrated as part of the daily administration of the executive branch and having access to all city departments.
And that's a very good idea. Actually, back in the early 80s, talking to some of the older business people, and I wish I could remember her name, it's Victoria something, and you're charged of the department, and pretty much her job morphed into the ombudsman, but she would take people by the hand practically, give them a list, say you gotta work, and they'd always go back to her, and it was a lot quicker now. Like I was talking to the people who opened Sycamore on Main, the new apartment building. Took them 5 years. That's just, anywhere else it would take 2.5. Now, of course, let's look at one thing, and I'll defend Brockton. I know, I punch them, then I defend them. But we know all of our buildings are so old. There's asbestos, there's, black mold, there's so much there. It does take a little time to fix it up. But we know that. And it still takes long, and some of it just stops because you're waiting so long for your permits because there are people who don't know what to do, new business people. And I'm sorry, do you have anything to add on to that department? Because I think I haven't heard that from anyone. I think that's
so. The ombudsman, so to have the ombudsman is an exceptional idea, actually.
Yes,
it's similar to what we talked about in Inspector General 2 years ago. So let me just ask you this. So the biggest issue that Ed and I have heard is what he just touched on, the permit process. So your proposal includes some of that fast tracking or looking at what the heck is going on with the permitting process?
Right. So I've heard recommendations from City Hall that they plan on implementing software that would streamline the process. So the idea, the conceptual thought is that if you're a applicant, you can track and monitor what stage your permit application is in the process. So when you're 2 months into an application, you say, hey, where am I? And I can appreciate it may not be easy to necessarily get feedback from City Hall for some applicants for various reasons why. And so if we do have the software implementing, then hopefully they can track the stage of the process. But you got to think more broadly. One of the reasons why I'm running for City Council is because I'm a strong advocate that the City of Brockton can become more operationally efficient. What does that mean? Let me explain. Currently, within City Hall, if you look at all staff departments, we have an internal auditor, but their remit is very narrow and limited to what's called financial statement reporting risk. Okay, but we need a department that looks more broadly. They're looking at operational risk, the failure of human or processes to complete to achieve objectives. We're looking at contract risk. We're looking at, within City Hall, we should enhance our customer service experience. And so how do we do that? And what department would look at that? It wouldn't be the remit of the auditor, but it would be the remit of a bondsman service.
Okay. I actually, that's very good. It's well neat. You're bringing up great information. The other thing is, let's talk about the issue that we have on the human factor. Now, I think it's great we're going to change the software that we need, because you always have to be kept up to date, and
I don't think it's changing. I think it's implementing the software.
Right.
We've never had this tracking system.
We can say, the system we're using now is close to chalk and a blackboard.
Yes.
But the thing is, when you talk to people and business people, especially new ones who don't know the intricacies, and they walk in, and people who know the intricacies are having issues. But when they walk in, and it's like you're wasting their time in the City Hall, wasting their day. How dare you come up? No, I'm kind of stretching that, as you know, my listeners know. But it's like, how are you going to change
the attitude?
The attitude in the human factor. And I'll tell you, a lot of people up there, they want to do a great job. And I think that's everywhere. Any company you go, you're always going to have a few people. But you have those few people. What are we going to do about changing the human factor?
Absolutely. So the answer starts with what's called a concept called tone at the top. The tone at the top. So your elected officials, the mayor, the city council, they set the tone. If they come walk into City Hall and they set the tone that customer service is priority one, then I would expect that the mayor every Monday has a meeting with his department heads, which in this case would include the bondsman service, who's identifying potential complaints. And what the mayor would be doing is identifying, where are our priority areas and how is that consistent with our core objectives. The mayor and our elected officials set the tone at the top. And so if they do not state that customer service is a priority, and also another thing that we can do is we can implement performance expectations. Right now in City Hall, we don't have performance expectations. And so if we have a performance appraisal process, now we have an incentive system in place for employees to not be complacent, but to actually go above and beyond to be the best customer service representative they can be for the city of Brockton. And that's why I'm running for city council.
I just want to ask one more question. I'll turn it over to Bishop Branch because I don't want to dominate it. But you're bringing up so many good points. But one of the things is where, yes, the mayor is in charge, but mayors come and go. They might be there 6 years. They might be there 8 years. Your counselors are there for 8, 10 years, and
these department heads have been remaining. So I got a question on that.
Yeah, we're thinking the same way.
Talk about
it's the department heads and the bureaucracy that's there forever.
Right.
Do you feel that there should be counselors who should be, or someone being, like the mayor's in charge of a lot? That the mayor or the councilor should have people there to make sure the nuts and bolts of City Hall and the nuts and bolts of the departments of Brockton are running efficiently.
Yes, and I can speak to this. So you're absolutely right. Elected officials, they come and go. Right now in Brockton, they serve 2-year terms.
Right.
So how do we ensure the continuity of quality services in the city of Brockton. The way we do it is by implementing the Ombudsman Service Department. This will be a part of the daily administration of city government so that we can provide that quality customer service on a continuity basis. So that, and I please, for all viewers and listeners, I want you to understand me clearly. I'm not saying here that there's a people issue in city government. I'm saying there's an opportunity to enhance our processes. If we have the right processes set up in place, then the idea is that by adhering to those processes, then we should be in a good place in providing better customer service, achieving the goals that you spoke to about the shortcomings of businesses who can't get through permit processes. They can't plan their business in accordance because they can't plan the timeline of expectations when they can open up shop. So the focus is, how do we enhance our existing processes?
We go back to that. I just got to
Yes.
take a quick break and thank the people who are sponsoring this show.
You got it.
And having you on. And we're going to be right back after this. You're listening to Stand Up Strong. I'm Ed Miller with Bishop Tony Branch on 1530 AM, WVBF. We have Jamal Brathwaite. We are waiting for our next person. We're going to keep Jamal on until that person shows up, so you're getting extra time. We'll be right back after this.
Come home to many different things. Some people like to come home to reliability. Others like to come home to a stress-free environment. And some people like to come home to their beautiful family. Whatever you like to come home to, Mendez Realty wants to make sure you have it. Come home
Just
to
tell them
professionalism.
2 minutes.
MendezRealty.com or by calling 508-863-4455. Mendez Realty. We are your partners in home comfort.
Look through your children's eyes, and you'll see the true magic of a forest. It's a storybook world for them. You look and see a tree. They see the wrinkled face of a wizard with arms outstretched to the sky. They see treasure in pebbles. They see a windy path that could lead to adventure. When they discover the forest, their imagination is inspired by the smell of pine, the crunch of leaves beneath their feet, the sound of birds calling out for attention. And they see you, their fearless guide through this fascinating forest world. You are the hero in this book. This is a memory being made. This is what they will laugh about years from now. These are the roots, grounding and nourishing them.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Then look through your children's eyes and discover the magic all around you. That's discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Okay, we're back. You're listening to Stand Up Strong. I'm Ed Miller here with Bishop Tony Branch. You're listening to us on 1530 AM WVBF. We have Jamal Brathwaite here, and we got a couple more minutes. Bishop Branch, would you like to take the last question?
Yes, absolutely. Jamal, when you look at the term of office for the mayor and the Brockton City Council, do you recommend any changes? There's been a lot of conversation around the mayor. Is there 2 years, year and a half into his term? He's running for re-election. What say you?
Well, currently, right now, I'm motivated for an election. So I think we need to have an election 100%, especially given the number of emails that I sent to City Hall, and I get no responses. So for all the viewers at home, if you're listening and saying, hey, that guy Jamal, he's raising some valid points, well, I haven't received that kind of response from City Hall. In fact, I've received no response. So I'm motivated for a new election. So that's one. But two, in the long run, I think that I'm open-minded. I want to hear what other people. I haven't lived here as long as most Brockton residents, so I want to be a listener on this one. In the scenario that the councilors became a 4-year term, I think that it should become a full-time role equivalent to Boston, where it's where the staff are given the resources necessary
It's a much
to
different setup
deliver.
in Boston.
Because right now, I don't think the city councilors receive enough resources and information supplied by the city clerk's office, and so that's part of the reason why. When you listen to city council meetings, especially the last week's meeting when we were looking at the largest appropriation request maybe in the history of Brockton. Did you guys know that? That's right, I said it. For the past 2 weeks, City Council has been entertaining the concept of the largest appropriation request in the history of Brockton. It's $360 million to fund an unfunded pension liability. What do you know about that? Well, tomorrow is the vote, and there's more we can discuss, but ultimately all I'm asking is that we need a comparison with the state retirement plan compared to the city to see that if we, there's I interpret this as two parts. One part is that we're borrowing $360 million at a rate of 2.5%, which is good. I have no quorums with that at all. That's a good thing. Let's borrow the money. But what I do second guess is, should we give that money to the people who created the unfunded pension liability in the first place? Because here's the risk scenario. The risk scenario is that if we give this money to the same pension providers, they may create another unfunded pension liability in the future, which would require the taxpayers to pay out more money. Because please note, when we borrow this money, it will increase the price of living in Brockton for the next 30 years, okay? It will result in an increase in our tax levy that's due.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, thank you for coming
Well,
on.
your contact information, we got our next guest. What's your contact information,
Yes,
Jamal?
you can reach out to me to votejamal.com. We need all the volunteers we can get. If you'd like to attend any Brockton Oversight Board meeting, please, you can send me an email at jamalbrathwaite.brockton@gmail.com. You can also reach me on my website, votejamal.com. And we need all the donations we can get for our campaign. If you like the curriculum and the topics we discussed today, in order to generate this and get it out to a larger audience, we'll need donations to the campaign so people can stay more informed of what's going on.
Well, we appreciate you coming in today, sir. Thank you very much. Excellent presentation.
Thank you, Jamal. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And we also have here Reverend Marlon Green, who is running for Ward 1 as a city council. Mr. Green, would you like to come up and take the hot seat?
The hot seat, not hardly.